Okay, I am recording my Pecha Kucha presentation to give you an idea of what your presentations will look like in my class in case you missed the instructions and the assignment. Pecha Kucha is a presentation that has 20 slides and each slide lasts for 20 seconds. So you have a total of 6 minutes and 40 seconds for your presentation to talk about something you are passionate about. And tell us a little bit about yourself. So my Pecha Kucha presentation will be about my passion for filmmaking and how I came to be an instructor at Chi Tech for multimedia arts. All right, so my love for photography began back in my childhood. When I was a kid, I used to love taking pictures. I don't even remember who gave me this camera, but I always had it with me. This is me taking photos of the horses on the horse farm that I grew up in in Arizona. So my photos of an early age were all of animals. I love the outdoors, a lot of nature photos, and they've evolved as I've gotten older. But I think one thing to note is that when you start to think about what you want to do in life, look back to your childhood and try to think back to those things that kind of really caught your attention. And those are what will start to guide you and help you find your purpose in life. So as an adult, whenever I take photos, I've kind of evolved. I don't take as many pictures of animals, but I am really interested in taking pictures of found objects. So here is picture of looks like a can that has been crushed and probably has been, sitting there on this pavement for a long time. I'm really interested in the idea of history, the history of something, and what are these histories that we have, what's hidden, what's being seen. And as a photographer, I think it's very powerful that we have the capability of capturing these moments and bringing something to light. So something might go unnoticed is something that a photographer can make you aware of. I also love to take pictures of items that have a lot of history to them and have been decaying or getting old. So in this case, I took this picture of this car that was sitting in my back alley for as long as I can remember living there. And I really love the image because there are layers of decay, right? So you look at the White House, and the White House, you see the paint's kind of distressed and peeling off. You look at the fence, it's been charred and it's on fire. Then you look at the car, it's been rusting, and you see those rust spots. So I really love the beautiful, like the texture of this photo, and this idea that this car has been sitting here forever and kind of it's been abandoned, but yet there's such a beauty to it. So I did a series of photos with this car. The other thing I love to take pictures of is I have a series of couch videos or couch photos. My family knows me as the couch person, so whenever they see a couch outside, they will send it to me. So same thing, keep your eye out, take a picture of a couch for me, and I'll get you an extra credit point. But the reason I love taking pictures of couches, abandoned couches, again, it's that idea of things that have been abandoned and the beauty of them. And kind of this idea of something that's not quite right, not in its place. So these things that belong in the home are outside. So it's like this unexpected kind of contradiction that's happening. And this idea about home is really important to me. I moved a lot when I was a kid, so I have an interest in thinking about this concept of home and how do we create homes for ourselves and what does that mean? And so, yes, so send me couch pictures when you see them. The other thing I like to take pictures of, and these are not selfies because I am not great at taking selfies, but I do like to take self-portraits. Self-portraits, usually it's when I come across a mirror. In this case, this was a mirror that was in an alley on one of my birthdays that I was just happened to be walking by. If there's a mirror or a window with a reflection as I'm passing, I'll take a photo of that. I really like that idea of kind of looking back at yourself and capturing yourself the way you want to be seen, because oftentimes in life, people have their own judgments and perceptions of who we are. But as a filmmaker, that puts the power back in your hands so that you can be able to show the world how you want them to view you. So I think that's really interesting. A lot of my inspiration, I think it's important to find out kind of who inspires you and look at other people's work. So one of my favorite photographers, her name is Vivian Meyer. This was a woman who, I think in the 60s, 70s. She was a nanny on the North Shore of Chicago, and she would take the kids, she'd pack them up, and she'd bring them down to the city, and she'd just take a lot of photos. So a lot of street photography, a lot of candid pictures of just anybody they were passing on the street. And then she also would take a lot of these self-portraits of herself. And she's fascinating because she took hundreds and thousands of photos, and they were never discovered till after she died. And she kind of became famous posthumously, after her death. She became famous. So we will look at some of her work in my class. In terms of the films I make, am interested in watching. This is one of my favorite films. It's a French film. It's called Jean Dielman, 23 Rue de Quay, and that's essentially a street name. And it is a 3-hour film. Each hour is an hour in her life. So you see her just living out her daily life in this movie. So waking up, drinking coffee, doing dishes, taking a bath, all these really like mundane things that everybody does. And I think that's really interesting because everybody does those things, right? So it's like you can relate in some way. And there's not a lot of talking in this film. I'm interested in films that let you sort of fill in the dialogue for yourself and like wonder what this character is thinking. You all would probably fall asleep watching this film, so I will not play it in school for us. Maybe I'll play a little clip. So in any case, when I was in my late 20s, I decided, okay, film was actually something I wanted to pursue as a career. So I headed off to Massachusetts, where I went to Emerson College in Boston. This is a college that's an arts college. So if you're interested in acting career or screenwriting career or set design or filmmaking, this is your place to go. It's all an arts-based school. So they don't have science and languages and things like that. You're just studying liberal arts. And I loved Emerson College. It pretty much changed my life. So when I was in college, I got to experiment with a lot of different types of filmmaking. So right here, I'm holding a Bolex camera, which is one of the early forms of film technology. Before digital was created, they had analog. So you would actually record your films on a film strip. And this right here, I inherited it from my great uncle. He used the Bolex camera. They used to shoot home movies on that. So the way you use your phones to just shoot your everyday lives, back in the day, people would use Bolex film cameras, like Super 8mm cameras, to film their family gatherings and birthday parties and things like that. It's heavy, it's a clunker, but the images are beautiful. So I shot a couple films on the Bolex camera in college. And I purchased my first camera when I was creating my thesis film, which is the film that everybody has to produce sort of a body of work and then their final film to graduate. So this is me back in Arizona. I filmed with my family and kind of went through, looked at my relationship with my mother and filmed about growing up with her. And then I've also, in grad school, I filmed a series of different films. So one was about incarcerated teens in this boxing program that they were enrolled in. I had one film was about a woman who was a survivor of breast cancer. Another film was about mental illness. So lots of different ideas. Graduate school and college is a time to get creative. And that's exactly what I want you to do in this class too, is just kind of let your imagination roll and see what you're interested in. And that's what you should be filming and thinking about. After graduate school, once I had my degree in film, I started to get hired as a freelance filmmaker. So freelance filmmaker means you can work for different productions. You don't go to the same job every day, but you'll hop around to different film productions. So this here was a History Channel movie series. It was a series about the Civil War. So on this set, I was a props master, and the props master is in charge of all the props for every scene. So here you see this gun that the Civil War soldiers holding up. That was a gun that I had to acquire, right? So I went up through the script with the director, and we wrote down all the list of props that needed to be used in the film, and that was my job, was to go and find those props. A lot of them are fake, so this might just be this rifle actually is probably real, but there was a lot of fake tools as well. But this was a very intense movie. I learned a lot about all the different jobs there are on a film set, like the special effects people, like that fog that's in the background, that was created by a fog machine, by the special effects master, there was props master, there's hair and makeup, there's a director, there's a cinematographer, there's the producer, all sorts of different jobs that are on a film set. So this was me. My job was the props, like I just said. I would drive around in this John Deere tractor all day, and I would have to look at my script breakdown and to see which scene was being filmed at what time, and I'd have to load up that truck with all the props and deliver it for that scene so that they would be on set in time. So it was actually a really great job. When you first enter into the film business, you're usually doing jobs like these. They're called like production assistants, where you're running around getting coffee, doing errands, just making sure the director and the actors have everything they need to have a successful day. This was kind of one of my favorite scenes here. I was rigging up a rope, which was in this scene, this woman had just been hanged. So what we're doing is she's actually being hung from a bungee cord, and I'm wrapping a silk cloth around that bungee cord to make it seem like she is suspended from this like rope. So very interesting work. If you get into it, you'll get exposed to a lot of different things that you've probably never thought of before. Like for instance, working on the History Channel, I was working in Boston, but then also I worked on the Food Network and PBS. So there's a lot of different places. Like I went to New York, I went to Cape Cod. You get to travel a lot when you're in the film business. This was another film shoot that I worked on for Giada De Laurentiis on the Food Network channel. She is the Italian chef, if any of you know about her. But what I'm doing here is I'm doing what's called a stand-in. So before the actor comes on set, because they pay that actor a lot of money, they don't want her to just sit in this chair and have the photographer and the grips and the lighting production set up all their equipment and while she's just sitting there. So what they do is they have a stand-in. So I'm sitting there while the cinematographer looks at his monitor and makes sure that his settings are all correct, that the grips are rigging the lights in the right place and they look good. So it's kind of fun because you are right in the center of the action, and you get to kind of get an eye on what everybody does on a film set when you're a production assistant. The other thing that you want to think about if you go into this field is that it's actually a lot of work. It's very physical. So here I'm a camera assistant for this guy in the front with the yellow hat. He's the cinematographer, which is the camera operator. And then behind him is the sound guy, sound operator. So I'm carrying the tripod with them through, we're on Martha's Vineyard there. So through sandy hills, and it's a lot of work. So you want to, if you're somebody who's physical and doesn't like to sit behind in an office desk, then filmmaking is definitely an interesting career to follow. Right here was one of the funnest days on any set is when it's over. So the director will call wrap. That's a wrap, and then people will have a celebration. And a lot of times you're just deconstructing sets. So here I am working for PBS show. It was an American Masters piece about Louisa May Alcott. Actually, this one was about Helen Keller. So Helen Keller, and we were in a studio. We did a lot of the shoot in a studio. So here I am sledgehammering the set when it was all over, just to take it all apart. So at some point in my career, in my life, I had worked on all these different productions, and I realized something was still missing. And when I was younger, in an undergrad in college, I had studied education. So I felt like it was time to get back to teaching. So that's what I did. I moved back to Chicago and I developed a film program. My first job was at North Lawndale College Prep. These are some of my first class of students. I know I don't look very much different, but believe me, I'm a lot older. I taught film production to students at North Lawndale College Prep at the Christiana campus. We had a green screen. You can see in the background, there's that black backdrop. We had a documentary class where students would go out and research a topic and then actually do interviews with professionals in the field. There was a sports program that they would record their basketball games called Hoops High. And it was a lot of fun. So I was there for a good couple of years. before coming back and going to Shy Tech. So I think what this has taught me is that you guys are now the future of storytelling, right? You're the future of making your voices be heard. And I think it's really important that, and what I care about the most in this class is that you're finding things that you really want to talk about and sharing the things that matter the most to you, because your voices aren't always heard, right? You're not seen in the major news networks. A lot of the times your stories are being told by people who don't live your experiences. So that's what I love about teaching you guys, is that it's now your opportunity to kind of take the reins. But so anyways, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys create this year, and we're going to make it a good year. All right. So that's the end of my presentation. Good luck with yours. So